Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Rausch, your own personal sales maven, here to offer you tips and strategies and techniques to master that sales conversation. Today is one of the Mastering Excellence series podcasts, and I'm super excited to welcome my guest. Now, if you haven't heard one of these before, this comes from my background in NLP, where we learn that there is a structure to excellence. And when you can dig into the structure of how somebody is achieving excellence in some area of their life or business, you'll start to see that there's some patterns, there's some structure there for you to follow. And that is the goal for you today, to walk away with some structure, some things that you can then implement into your own business around this same topic and start to see some better results. Now, let me tell you a little bit about who you're going to hear from today, because Robin Walker is here with us. She is a business strategist and educator that helps business owners and leaders narrow focus, take action, and plan strategically so they can achieve growth on their own terms with confidence and consistency. With years of experience advising and educating founders, she specializes in practical strategies for marketing and business structure. And you can work with Robin through one-on-one coaching and the Owner's Accountability Mastermind, the Impact Business Circle. We're going to be talking today about how to build a business foundation that drives growth and sales. Robin, welcome to the show, friend.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for saying yes to this. I always like to give the audience a little bit of kind of background about us and how we know each other, because I'll say this 1,000 times, I don't accept guest pitches, nor did Robin pitch me to be on the podcast. We have known each other for many, many years. I'm trying to think, did we originally get connected through Natalie? Is that how we first
I
met?
honestly don't know. I think you were a referral. I think Natalie might have referred you when she saw my event that I was having,
I
the
think
conference.
so, because you so graciously reached out and asked me to come speak at your event, which I think was in
Yes.
2019.
The first one was 2017, and I think you were lined up twice. So
Okay.
maybe 2019 and 2020. Yes, 2020.
Yes, because I couldn't come on 2020 because it was before it had been announced to the world, but I'm pretty sure I had COVID. I was so sick. I've never canceled on a speaking gig before. Oh, I'm so
And
sorry.
we're
I've done
thankful
that
you
too.
did.
Yes, right. Like
You're
yeah, I
super
was like,
spreader.
I'm gonna push through. I'm tough. I can go. And then I fainted getting out of the shower. And I was like, I don't think I should go. I think I'm too sick to travel. And then the
Yes.
world shut down shortly after,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
So tell everybody a little bit about you and the way that you work with clients, and just kind of the kind of clients that you work with too. I think is always helpful to give some context as we dig into where we're going to go.
I usually work with small business owners that had a different skill set where they were hired by someone else. So maybe they were in corporate or a healthcare system, but they have their own skill set. And that skill set they want to turn into a business, but they don't know all the business part of how to run a business, but they're really good at, let's say, chiropractic care or um, teaching or something else, but they really don't know all the business stuff. So that's where I step in to help them with, how do you write a marketing plan, or what is a business plan? How do I know who I'm selling to? And so I kind of step in and help with all of that, whether that's through educating in groups or workshops or working one on one with someone. So it's usually someone that did not realize this all comes with running a business. I
Yeah.
didn't realize I was also going to be an accountant and a marketer and all the head stuff that goes with trying to sell your own product. And
Yes.
so that's where I walk alongside them in their business and help them with all the stuff they don't know how to do, or refer them to people that I have in my circle.
Or don't even know yet that they don't know it, right? It's like,
Right.
oh, I didn't know I was supposed to do that in my
Yeah. I
business.
actually I have a podcast episode called You Don't Know What You Don't Know for entrepreneurs.
Perfect. What a great topic. Throw out your podcast name there too, because I don't think I threw it out.
It's Women's Business Workshop Podcast.
Yeah. So you get lots of great information by listening to Robin's podcast. So I love it. And one of the things that I know about you, just, observation. One, you're a very lovely, wonderful person. I met when I did get to speak at your conference, which I think was in 2019, some of the most amazing women business owners. You have such a way of building community and attracting really, really great people. And I'll just, one in particular that comes to mind who I absolutely adore. And I met her at your conference. We worked together for years. We became friends, is Angie Trueblood.
Oh, yes, yes.
And just like this idea of, and I can think actually of quite a few others, Lindsay, Jen, um, I just so many like that come to mind that I met at your conference. Like you just have a way of attracting and building community that I think the only other person I can think of that really rivals that is maybe Natalie Ekdahl.
Well, thank you. That's a very high honor and a high compliment.
You're just
And
so good
and
at it.
it's a lot of strategy behind the scenes, which I'm glad doesn't show.
It does not. It just
Good.
feels very you, right? This idea of like how you build community. And I remember at your event having I don't know if it might have been on the last day before I flew out, but like just even like sitting in these circles of women and we were just kind of going around. I think we were doing like a little mini mastermind or something,
Mhm.
but I just remember being in that room and feeling like, wow, this feels really special.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I I try there's a lot of behind the scenes that I try to set up to make the space that way, and then I really rely on referrals from people I know are good people, are good in those settings, are welcoming, friendly. When they give a referral to an event, that just, makes me feel wonderful, but it also helps fill the room with like-minded
Yeah.
people. I really
Yeah.
want it to be a welcoming space where people leave feeling good about themselves and not like, "Oh, I have all this stuff to do, and I sat in a corner and no one noticed me."
Hmm. Yeah. That was definitely not the vibe at all. And you're still
Good.
doing live events, yes? You're still doing
I
your
am. I
yeah.
do them more locally, and then I have one event once a year that's an invite-only type event for my clients. They get to bring a guest, and then I have a couple people that I'll invite behind the scenes.
And I guess we should tell
So
people where you're located too, if they're like, "How do I get invited to one of Robin's events?"
I'm in Southern Illinois or Southern Wisconsin. I'm right at the border of Illinois. So Chicago, Milwaukee suburbs. My events are usually in that area.
I was saying before we hit record that the coldest, I think, weather I've ever been in was at your event. It was negative 19 degrees outside during the event. And I remember going and standing outside and saying, like, this is serious. Like this is not for the faint of heart. People live here. Like, what? But it was such a cool and it was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Like setting. It was absolutely gorgeous. But you do live in a cool area and it's easy to fly in and out of Chicago. So that's always nice.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, we won't use the coldest day ever for a testimonial for my events.
Thanks a lot, Nikki, for bringing that up. Sorry. But yeah, for sure. It was, but I will say, like, I'm delighted by having experiences, and that was an experience. I had such a great experience at your conference. There were a lot of things I really, really loved about it. I remember even just like sitting at dinner with somebody one night who I just met at the conference and just having such a great conversation with this woman. And now I can't think of her name, which is terrible. But we just had like, oh man, this just feels so great. But the experience of being in 19-degree, negative 19-degree was also a good one for me to have.
you
So,
you could come in summer sometime. It's really
okay.
nice.
Okay. All
But
right.
I love that. I feel like small business owners specifically don't have that community often.
Hmm.
And so I love to create a space where you may not even know how much you need it until you're in the room or on the call and you just feel that community with the other owners because
Yeah.
people don't really get it if you're not in that space.
That's so true. It does feel like we have kind of a unique club entrepreneurship, right? That people who aren't entrepreneurs, there's just so many things that they just have no, it's like you don't know what you don't know. They really
Right.
don't know. and the struggles, but also the highs and the, all the things that go along with it. So, um, I think it's a great club to be a part of, and I'm really glad that I
Mhm.
am. And I never knew I wanted to be, and that was never the intention, on my life goals. But dang, it's been so rewarding.
Yeah, that's what I find most entrepreneurs did not set out to be a business owner. At least our generation, I feel like it wasn't if you were going to be a business owner, it was like you had a store
Yes.
or, it was a very specific type of business if you're a business owner versus
Yes.
now the younger generations, I mean, it's endless what could be a business.
Right. Right. It's exciting, an exciting time. Okay, so we're going to jump in here to the questions and this idea again around building a business foundation that drives growth and sales. My first question is always if I got to stand in for you for a day, so I get to like be Robin for a day, and I'm really thinking about my business, I'm interested to know what do I have to think and or how do I have to behave when I am first starting to think about building a business foundation that really is going to set me up to drive growth and sales.
I spend a lot of the day thinking about the outcome. I'm just wired that way of thinking about what comes next. And I have to train myself to also stop and think of what has already happened and what context is around my current decisions. But I spend a lot of time doing planning ahead. So, for example, like if I'm planning an event, I'm thinking about the attendee from the time they first see my website. What are they feeling? What questions do they have? Like for that event, I'm picturing the attendee walking down those big stairs. If they're nervous, what are they thinking? What do they need to be told or what do they need to see to feel comfortable when they walk in that room? But I apply that filter to a lot of my day. So if I'm having a coaching call, doing the work ahead of time, what do we need to what does she need to learn, what might she bring to me, how can we end that call in a way that the next outcome is natural for her. So I do a lot of thinking, planning,
Mhm.
strategy around things. It's just kind of naturally how I'm wired, I think.
Yeah, but again, this is why we're digging into this from the Mastering Excellence series is because there's the structure. And so to know that one of the first things that you're thinking about is the outcome, which actually is very NLP, just so you know, because they always say, like, if you're trying to help a client or somebody achieve some kind of change in their life, like you have to have the outcome in mind and everything kind of works back from there. And then and so with that, to know that that's the thing that you're thinking about and that you're also kind of going through the process of like, I know the exact stairs you're talking about because I remember coming down the stairs, right? So when you come down the stairs, what that experience, when you walk into the room, what's that experience like? When you go into the breakout sessions, what's that experience like? So, and I wonder, and now I'm thinking about this for me, like how much am I thinking about that as I'm putting together offers, as I'm thinking about my business, as I'm planning for the quarter, as I'm planning for the year, like really taking that in and going, okay, am I doing that? And how can I do that better? Because if I'm not doing that, I'm probably missing some really important information. So I love that you're thinking about this from an outcome focus. That's fantastic. Okay, so next question is what are your goals around building a business foundation that is going to allow you to drive growth and sales?
My goals are that I can keep myself true. I can stay true to myself in my business, that I show up authentically as me, but I also challenge myself to become the best version of myself, but not through shame, judgment, just through motivation and drive. And I'm a competitive person, so that plays into that as well. Um, I think with business, it's important to be yourself, but also know what potential you have and how you could get even further. So I'm always, wherever I'm at, I'm usually wanting it to be more or better as far as in my business. I have yet to reach a point where I've just said, this is good. I'm good right here. I'm just going to maintain. And I do have clients that are in that space and they're like, this is what I want. This is perfect. I just want to maintain. I just have not ever been to that place. I'm always,
Okay.
and maybe that's the futuristic of what's next. What else can
Yeah.
I do? How could I
Yeah.
reach different people or more people?
Well, and I like that you said around goals that want to, that you want to stay true to yourself, but you also are wanting to challenge yourself to become a better version of that self that you see
Mhm.
yourself as. So that leads me really beautifully to the next question is how do you know that you're achieving that goal? Like what's the evidence for you? What happens that lets you go like tick that. Yep, got it. Or like, oh, like what kind of things happen or what do you hear? What do you see?
Well, the people I do goal setting with are probably loving this because they're like, Robin, that's not a real actionable, measurable check off type goal to say you want to be the best version of yourself because you don't ever really achieve that.
Yeah.
You're always, it's an evolution, of course. So that's a good question. I do set goals like for each event I host, I have a certain amount of attendees and type of attendee I'm looking for, and that's really
Mhm.
achievable. Same with when I do coaching and I do my quarterly planning. I have goals for our mastermind program enrollment and for one-on-one coaching. So I think the more I grow that, those are things I can check off, but that's not necessarily, I guess, about me being a better version of myself. Um, as far as day to day ways I would notice that would be less overthinking, more decisiveness, more confidence in sales conversations or raising prices. So I don't know how I would actually check that off.
Okay.
It's a
Okay.
good question.
Okay. Well, I like this idea of less overthinking, this more decisive, the confident, more confidence in sales conversations. I think those are all clear. Like when you get to the end of a sales conversation, for instance, and you go, that felt easier. Or I felt really good about like the question that they asked me that maybe I wasn't prepared for, or I handled that in a way that like it felt really smooth, or and obviously I'm applying this to sales, but I think you can apply that in a lot of places, right? This idea of like, oh, I was really decisive about X, Y, and Z. Like
Mhm.
I didn't spend days lamenting about it. I said, this is my decision and now we're moving forward, right? Like I do think that's feedback and ways to say, yep, did that.
Right. And I'm in a unique position that working with business owners, I will work with someone about a situation and I can reflect and say, I remember when I was in that position and that felt like a really daunting task to do the thing we were working on. Or I remember when I used to offer discounts before I let them pay the full price. So I can see where I've grown just by working with other clients. And sometimes you don't even realize how far you've evolved until you see someone else in a place you used to be.
Yeah. That's also really good feedback. This idea of I guess I got asked a question earlier this week when I was being interviewed for somebody's podcast, and they asked me a question. I have not stopped thinking about it. I'm going to bring it into our conversation because I'm wondering if this kind of leads to or kind of supports what you're saying. But they were saying that the question was when I wrote my second book about buying signals, writing that book, did that help you get better at recognizing them? And I was like, "Oh, that is a really good question." And I have a really specific answer to it, but the idea was for me that it really did help me cement my thought leadership around buying signals specifically. But this
Mhm.
idea of like when you're really in a position where like you just gave the example of like a coaching and you can go, oh, I've been there. I've been where this person is.
Mhm.
I remember what that felt like, and I'm in a very different place now. Okay, here's where I can offer some suggestions or can offer some
Mhm.
guidance.
I think that's I mean, as a business consultant, I feel like that's happening every day. And
Mhm.
and it's just when I work with my coach on my thought leadership, a lot of it comes from what we've worked through with clients. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously,
Yeah.
but um yeah.
Yeah. I know I was having this conversation also with my group yesterday in our sales practice session. Somebody had, we were practicing a very specific skill set and the language around it. And so somebody was practicing. And so I asked her to pause and I was pointing some things out and she was like, okay, I didn't know. And I was like, well, okay, well, recognize that one, we're in a practice session. So this is a learning laboratory, but I actually didn't even know to comment on that until you brought it into the room. And so now it's like I have a deeper awareness around this one aspect of very common language that I really hadn't thought about talking about with anybody before. But now,
Mhm.
because I had this situation come up, um, and I'm so grateful for her for being vulnerable and like, I'm willing to, raise my hand and say, I'll give this a try. But it wasn't until I actually got to hear the way that she was framing something that I was like, oh, if we tweak this in the way that you say that, it's going to land so much differently. But it only is because we were in that situation. I would have never thought to like just have a thought about it and record a
Right.
podcast episode. Like it only came about because I got to hear somebody do it and go, oh, no, 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 let's tweak this because it's going to make a big difference in how it's received.
Yeah, I learn every day from
Mhm.
my clients
Yeah.
and situations that you take for granted that you know how to do or come naturally or have happened in your business already but hasn't happened for them. But I'm constantly learning from my clients. There's a million different business scenarios that happen on any given day.
Hmm.
So I mean that's what I love about coaching is each call is different. You just never
Yeah.
know what's going to happen in a call, and I always have a notebook next to me that I keep notes for myself as well about maybe I don't know how to answer this question or I want to do a little research or there's something that comes up that I feel like more of my clients need to know this because
Hmm.
maybe they just haven't brought it up, but it's happening to them as well, but it hasn't happened to me personally. So yeah, it's a learning lab for sure. That's a great term.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And I want to kind of like circle back this idea of like building a business foundation. I want to just check in with you about this. I'm kind of going off script here of like the traditional NLP questions, but because you do coach so many different kinds of businesses and you get, you're in this position of having these different scenarios that come up all the time. What do you think are some of the things that are often missed? Like, what are some of those key things that like again, you don't know what you don't know, but what are those things that have to be in place in order to build a successful business foundation? And without those things, you're going to really struggle to drive growth and certainly sales.
I think more so than the specific pieces. So like if we're talking about a business plan in general and you have your ideal client, your offers, your pricing, your marketing, all the little pieces that go into it, I think the people might have those or they've done them in pieces. So maybe they attended a workshop where they talked about ideal client. So they wrote it in a notebook and they're like, I've done my ideal client. And then maybe they hear a podcast that's talking about client journeys. So they're like, oh, I have that in my head or I did that. But they're all done in isolation and they never stop and say, what if we put these all on the table? Are they aligned? Do they make sense with each other? And I feel like that is whether you've done the pieces or not, all of them, not stopping to say, does this make sense? So, an example would be maybe your positioning that I'm a premium experience. I have so much experience. I've been around for so long. I can offer this fantastic experience, but they're pricing so that everyone can afford them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a misalignment. So
Mm-hmm.
in that client journey, you're going to feel like, wait, why is it so? Maybe it's not a premium experience, it's priced so low, or their messaging is not applying to that premium client. And you don't realize this when you're in it every day.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the outside perspective. So I think the alignment of everything is really something that's missed often.
I'm so glad that you brought that into the room, this idea of alignment and laying your pieces out and going like, do these actually work together? And is there a flow to this? And is there consistency to this message, because one of the things that I often have conversations with my clients about when we're talking about, who is this offer for and who are we attracting? One of the things they often don't think about is like, this is who I think this offer is for. But it's like, okay, but would that person actually seek you out to be the person they would learn this from or that they would hire to do this work for
Mhm.
them? And that oftentimes is a missing piece. It's like, well, yeah, no, they wouldn't. And I remember doing this with a client many years ago, and she's gone on to just have phenomenal success. But one of the things that I asked her that very question in she was describing to me who her ideal client was, but then we were also talking about who her clients really were, like who was really showing up. And so in in the way that I do, I asked a lot of questions and led her to this idea of like, okay, but who you're saying your ideal client is, would they actually hire you? And through what was somewhat of an uncomfortable conversation, but we got to a really good place and it was hard for her to have that realization of like, oh no, they actually wouldn't hire me. And she made some really significant changes. And it was like, I want to just like snap my fingers and be like, things changed and shifted so much in her business. And the growth that she's had over the years, she still keeps in touch with me, has just been so absolutely amazing. And so I love that you brought that up around like this idea of like premium offer price, what's the pricing and what's the experience like? And like people aren't lining these pieces up.
Mhm. Or the social media is not premium
Mm,
and looks DIY'd, and then
mhm,
that's the way you're attracting people, but then it just all feels confusing for the customer.
mhm, mhm.
And I think it's hard to see on your own.
Yeah,
So I know when I have my coach, you'd think I'd be really good at this. I do it for clients, but then when it comes to your own business, it's the shoemakers,
yeah,
kids with no shoes. And she pointed out things to me that I just I just couldn't see
yeah,
because you're in it and you know what you want it to be and you
yeah.
know what you think it is, but it really sometimes takes that outside perspective to gently say, let's put these two things next to each other. If you were the consumer, what would be your first impression? And
Mhm.
sometimes you just don't see that on your own.
I think it's almost impossible to see it on your own. You need somebody to point things out. I have a coach right now that has had some conversations with me in the last few months that have been like, "Oh, I didn't even like a limiting belief that I had about something that I didn't even realize it as a limiting belief because I wasn't thinking of it that way. I was just thinking like this is just the way it is." And then, having her point out that, "Oh, actually, Nikki, this might just be a limiting belief that you have that can actually be shifted." And she gave me a very different perspective. And it just so happened that one of my team members was on the call with us and she piped up and had a very different perspective than I did too. And I was like, oh, that was a limiting belief. That wasn't like, there was no truth behind this belief that I had. Like, oh, I needed somebody else to point this out to me because it was now I look back and go like, how ridiculous. And I'm kind of embarrassed by it, but I needed that. I'm so grateful for it.
And sometimes we're basing decisions on those things, the things that aren't aligned or the
Mm-hmm.
things we don't realize,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're a solopreneur or a very small team. You're making decisions about the health of your business based on something that might not be true.
Right. Right. Okay. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about yet that you think is important for people to think? I know there's so much, right? But anything for this conversation, if somebody's thinking about, obviously business growth and sales are important to me, and my business foundation, like, what should I do? Like, is there anything that we haven't addressed and or talked about that you want to be like, and this, like, think about this?
I think just the documenting process sometimes, whether I mean, ideally you do this with someone who knows what they're doing, not, you know, just AI business plan or
Hmm.
your spouse who's not a business owner.
Right.
But the documentation process in itself, often I'll ask people about a certain part of their business strategy, and it's, oh, I have it in my head. I know it. I could probably find it somewhere. But that documentation process, we have so much in our heads, right? I mean, especially as business owners, we're definite cognitive overload. So having it written down that frees up space. We don't have to try to keep remembering things. We can externalize it and have it somewhere where we know it's written down. We can go look at it if we want to. And then also the beauty of that is when you have your plan, whatever that looks like. I do a signature business framework. It's really for entrepreneurs versus just like if you go online and search a business plan, a lot of those don't really apply to a solopreneur or, a founder necessarily versus a
Hmm.
bigger company. Um, when you have that, then when you hire someone to do your website or hire someone to do social media for you, you can hand over your plan. Because what I see is people will hire someone for social media, but they don't have a business plan.
Hmm.
So now you're having someone attracting clients and they don't even know who your ideal client is.
Hmm.
So having the documentation, I think, covers a lot of different bases, whether it's perfect or not, or it has all the pieces, just that documentation comes into play for better decisions. You can go back and look at it. You can say, you know what? I know exactly where that is. I can go look at it and adjust it. And for all those new ideas, often someone will show up at a coaching call and say, so I changed my pillars. I'm like, let's backtrack. Why did you? We got them. They're right here. I can show them to you. We got them. We got them. And we're basing a lot on these pillars. So let's not, because the temptation is to constantly new ideas, new
Hmm.
things to distract us from what we really should be doing or could be doing
Hmm.
that maybe feels a little harder. So I
Yeah.
think the documentation's a big piece. And it's work. No one wants to do it. It's not flashy, it's not glamorous, but it
But yet
helps.
it makes a difference. Yeah.
Mhm.
Love, love that. You just gave me an idea. My brain is like spinning now. Okay. Um, so good, so good. All right. The one of the last questions that I want to ask you is this very NLP question, but it's how do you know that like what lets you know, okay, I have built the business foundation that I need to drive growth and sales so I can stop.
I with business, I feel like there's always an evolution.
Okay.
But I think you can get to a spot where you say, this is good enough for now. And then what I usually do with clients is when we get that established, then we pick the one next area that needs help. And we're focusing on that area and that area alone to get it, whether that's being optimized, automated, tweaked in some way to be better fit for what your goals are. But that's just the one thing. And then we let all the rest stay in the document. Any podcasts we're listening to are around that one area, any course, anything's just around that area, just to eliminate that overwhelm of I have to keep doing all these things.
Mhm.
But I have yet to find a business owner that has a business plan that is, I'm done. I'm not touching it ever again. I do think you evolve as an owner. We'll have coaching calls where someone will talk about a difficult client, and we pull some things out of that to add to their client, to their ideal client. And we add those then to the plan. So it does keep evolving and getting better and better.
Mhm.
And then that helps you when you have those calls, the discovery calls to say, ooh, I remember that trigger word.
Yeah,
I'm going to need to follow up with another question.
right. Love that. This is fantastic. Robin, you're so brilliant. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing. I always like to do at the end of the podcast the what I call the little something extra section, and this is just a way for the listeners to maybe get to know you in a different way. And one of my favorite questions to ask people is, what's something that's bringing you pleasure or joy right now?
Well, I just got back from vacation. So I'm going to be on that high for a little while, but it's starting to be spring in Wisconsin.
Hmm.
So sunshine through the windows, going for walks, going to the lake, just trying to get out of the office and really sit in contentment as much as I can and appreciating where I get to live.
Yeah, it is beautiful where you live. Okay, what do you think is one thing people would be surprised to learn about you?
Until recently, I've been a soccer player, and I played competitive soccer my whole life and was even on a over 40 women's league for a while.
I did not
But
know this.
after COVID, I stopped because the games were at 9 p.m. and they were 45 minutes away. And this old girl, she's not playing soccer at 9 p.m. I'm in my sweats, watching my show or
Yep,
something. So
same.
locally, small town, so not many options for that specific of a soccer team. But love the competition, love how it challenges you.
Love
Um,
that. Love that. What is something exciting going on in your business right now?
I have a new event that's coming up later this month that is in southern Wisconsin, but I have a problem with I like to do new events and not do the same one over and over as often. So this one's brand new, and so that's exciting to me because it's something fresh and challenging and
Are you willing to share? You can say no, what the event
sure.
is.
No, it's Business Visibility Lab. And what we're doing is talking about business visibility and not trying to be everywhere. So, strategically stopping and saying what's really working, what platforms or referral sources, kind of taking an audit, so to speak, with a couple speakers that we'll be speaking on. And then we're going to have visibility stations where you can have someone look at your your Google profile, someone can look at your website. We have some branding headshots. I'm doing woman on the street interviews with different attendees that we can share for some additional visibility. So just um, all about business visibility.
Awesome. I love it. You always do fun stuff. I remember one of the fun things you did when I was speaking is you had vendors like at night. And I want to say it was Valerie that did the antique jewelry or the
Oh, Veronica. Yes,
Veronica.
yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Veronica, the vintage jewelry, still one of my favorite pieces that I ever bought.
Yes. It was such a fun addition to the wine night.
It was super fun. Super fun. Okay. Last question for you is, how can people listening get in touch? What's the best way to connect with Robin?
My website is womensbusinessworkshop.com, and that is the same handle for Instagram or Facebook. And I have an action step if that would work for you,
Yeah.
listeners. I set this separately because I thought business planning's overwhelming. So if someone does say like, where should I start next? My first step would just be to gather everything together. So if you have things in a lot of different places, if you can just kind of put them in a binder or a document, but otherwise focus on your ideal client because so much depends on ideal client. And I have a free mini course with your permission if
Mhm.
I could offer that to any of your listeners.
Yes, please
I
do.
can share a link with you. And it's only 30 minutes long, but it's just
Okay.
to get a kind of a handle on your ideal client and see where you might be able to tweak that or just get a little more insight.
Okay. And we'll put that link in the show notes for Robin's workshop that she's offering. Thank you so much for doing that. I'm
Of
so
course.
grateful that you said yes. You're such a beautiful, wonderful, smart woman, and I'm just so grateful to know you. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm just going to replay that last part over and over if I'm having a hard day. You're so wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, and for you, the listener, thank you for being here. I'm super interested. What was a takeaway for you for today? What stood out? What was something that Robin said that made you go like, "Oh, yeah." I will say I've got some ideas of my own after this podcast, so I'm hoping you do as well. And as always, I am wishing you continued success in all that you're doing. Have a great rest of your day.